Merry Christmas and happy holidays coming from the blueprint. Michigan finally does have their head coach. It is Kyle Whittingham coming over from Utah, Dev. We talked about this being a possibility last week. Excited to break it down with you. There's a lot of depth and a lot of angles we could take, but I keep coming back to this real quick before I kick it to you. I'm like, maybe just the simplest way to look at this is the best explanation. When you're looking to hire a head coach, you want to hire the best head coach available. And consistently, Kyle Whittingham is considered a top 5 at a minimum, top 10 head coach in all of college football. And all things considered, this is the best coach available for Michigan. And, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm fighting for my life over here all day. I've been trying to pull myself to like this great excitement of like it's clearly an upgrade. Let's start there. It's clearly an upgrade at the head coaching position. However, I have struggled to pull myself to this is the guy, right, for Michigan, like for the
Let's
future.
talk
Not,
about it. Let's
like
talk
right
about it.
now, so of course, but I haven't been able to pull myself to that. And I have some, and I'm probably gonna be in a minority here. When I look at the hire, I say, it's fine, right? I don't hate it. I don't love it, right? It's just fine. But the thing with fine is, in some households, they call it the F word, and it's kind of a bad word. And
Yeah.
see, Tristan and Dawn Moss, you don't know those people. However, fine is a bad word in their household. Like, I don't want things to be fine, right? I want it to be great, exceptional, or if they're bad, we need to fix them to get them to that position. And I just think it's a fine hire. And there's two specific reasons why, and I've been all day just trying to find, and so some of the numbers and stats I'm going to give you, they'll probably be missing some context and some intricacies that maybe I overlooked just by a quick glance and the speed of everything that's happening. But there are some things that just it's stopping me from getting to the the things that I'm missing. I know they're there, but because of these stats, it's hard for me to get to great excitement for the hire, right? Not upset with the hire by any means, but the great excitement is just not there, right? And so, first thing is the style of play, right? It actually fits Michigan perfectly.
Yeah.
However, everyone's been all upset about the style of play and the inability to highlight weapons and drive the ball down the field, all those different things, right? So you're getting a coach that's run the football, play defense, right? Which is what Michigan is used to, and I like that. But there are some deals in there where there's going to be more to be desired, right? Because everybody's going to say, well, why don't we have any weapons and all these different things, right? And so then you go to defense, right? And so I went and just looked since COVID. How did Utah perform defensively? And I just kind of did it through points, like how giving up points. And the magic number that I saw was 29, right? So 29 or more, right? So what did Michigan do and what did Utah do in that time from 2021? Because I feel like from 2020 after COVID, it's a different football game. Like this
It
is a
is.
different sport than it
Mhm.
was then, right? So obviously he's had great success throughout his career, but after COVID, it's a different sport, and this is the sport we're playing right now. And so, since 2021, from 2021 to 2025, right where we are right now, 14 times Utah gave up 29 points, right? And 12 of those times they lost, right? And so you don't really know what those numbers mean, right? It's just like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah.
And here are a few. It was like 3 per year, right? Where they go 33 to San Diego State in 21, 42 to Oregon State, 48 to Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. In 2022, 29 to Florida, 42 to UCLA, 35 to Penn State in the Rose Bowl. 2023, 35, 35, 42. That's Oregon, Washington, and Arizona. 2024, they gave up 49 to Colorado, 31 to Iowa State, but they didn't give up a third time that year, but they went 5-7, right? And then this past year, just one time, 34 points to Texas Tech, right? And so I look at that, and it's just like, when I look at the conference they've been in, it's like it's strong, but it's not as strong as what he's entering, right? And then I go and look at, well, what did Michigan do in that same time frame? And there were only 6 losses where they gave up 29 points and 7 in total. 2 of those losses, college football playoff games, 21 and 22,
Mhm.
right? And they had 1 win in that span, and it was against Nebraska, 32-29 and 21. And then MSU scored 37 and 21 in the loss. Texas scored 31 and 24 in the loss. Oregon scored 38 and 24. And this past year, USC scored 25. Right, so that's about once a year. And for Utah, it just was far too many. Right, and so you're the defensive coach, and we're hiring a defensive coach, but it just hasn't been as dominant, I would say, as far as just giving up that many points on a number of occasions against the good teams. That's what I'm saying. Like, because a lot of times, as much as people think every team is good in college football, there are some bad teams that you play against, right? And you can pad your stats in those games, and we know that those are kind of the small intricacies that you don't really know. Can't go back in time and watch every single snap. Was a quarterback hurt or any of these different things, okay? And so that's that part. And then the second thing for me is he'll be coaching an entirely different kid. Entirely different. He was used to coaching the overachiever, the guy that nobody wanted, the chip on the shoulder. I call him the yes coach kid, right? The yes coach kid. No matter what you tell him, he is going to do everything he can to put his family in a better position and be the best player he can be. Well, he's transitioning, and this is the part that I don't know just yet. You have to wait and see. How do you transition from the yes coach kid coaching him to the modern day, highly compensated 5-star, 4-star kid? You know, like I think that's being ignored.
The player
a little
that has
bit.
leverage over the coach.
The player who has leverage, right? And so when I look at Coach Whittingham, like we know, good coach, I look and say, well, he's 66 years old. Is he going to alter the way he does things?
No.
And I've talked to a lot of people, older people, right? Because I want to figure out, because older people know more older people. And I know some older people, and the ones I know, they don't change, right? But I want to make sure and cover the bases. And I've talked to older people, and I said, do you know any 66-year-old that altered the way they do things at 66 after having great success, right? And every response was, I've never seen someone who didn't have great success at 66 alter the way they do things, right? And so that's where I'm at a pause, kind of like, I can't get too excited because I have no idea what it's going to look like. I know the team will be disciplined. I know that they will play hard, but who will they be playing with? We don't know. We don't know how many guys are going to go on the transfer portal. We don't know how many recruits are not going to come. And how does Kyle Whittingham alter the way he does things? Because you have to alter it in some ways, right? Obviously, the core of what he is will be the same, but there has to be some altering. This is not Utah in obscurity, right? This is every single day, 15 shows, breaking down what you said, what you did, what the team did, what the quarterback, you know what I mean? So I just have no idea what that's going to look like based off of that stuff. Those two big reasons, it's like, I can't get too excited, but I'm not upset about it at all.
Well, I think that's fair. And honestly, like this is where I would just say why you guys like watch the blueprint, because one thing that we don't talk about, we don't say something certain if it is uncertain. And what Dev just brought up, like these are fair questions that you have to ask. You know, my perspective though, and this is where I want to stick with that topic specifically. Like, I think that's what Michigan needs, because I know we've talked about this on the show where you had a head coach that, hey, he made the kids feel comfortable. You got handshakes on the sideline.
Yeah.
You need a coach that says, here's how it's done, but if you do it this way, we're going to succeed. So that's part of what made Jim Harbaugh so great, is he had absolute clarity on the systems that he trusts to lead a team to success.
Yeah.
So I in that sense, in the discipline and when I look at his recruiting classes, Deb, this is kind of to your point again. He never had a class in the 247 talent composite above 32. Never.
Mm-hmm.
His average over the past decade was somewhere in the mid 40s. So those are the yes coach kids. I think when Michigan hit their peak in, post COVID, you had far greater talent that were still yes coach kids like Corum and Mason Graham and so.
Man,
so
those are perfect names, by the way. Perfect names
to do it.
The great player that's a yes coach kid, those are the perfect names to use. I mean, my goodness.
So do you think, like, you're not saying it's not going to happen, but you're saying we're going to be curious. I would say his staff then is extremely important. I think part of the reason it works with Cignetti at Indiana, like if you're an older coach and you're hard-nosed and you're going to do it your way, if the results don't come, then the kids will say, I'm not sticking around for this.
Why am I sticking around for some old man that's yelling at me and acting crazy and we're not winning? I can
They
get that
won't.
somewhere else and
Yeah.
win, right?
Yeah.
And today's kid is just totally different. He's totally
Yeah.
different, and he's so much different than what for over 20 years Coach Whittingham was dealing with. And it's not getting better. It's only getting worse. Kids are getting paid more. Kids have more leverage, And so, yeah, like I said, discipline, check, of course. The one thing we hated, handshakes with your freshman quarterback or anything
That's
like
not
that.
happening.
Out! It's
That's out.
out!
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
so out.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
over.
That was a huge deal for me. And so I really wish I could have showed how much I hated it when we weren't in the production stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it. And I think it was a huge part of why Bryce didn't get a chance to develop the way that he probably could have. But I've digressed.
Yeah.
But those are my thoughts. I mean, like I said, not upset about it. Can't. I'm trying to get myself to, and I don't think I will. I won't get to so excited. And I'm not even gonna say happy for the opportunity for him. He's done what he's done, right? He doesn't need this opportunity. But I think that he has a little bit of a pride about him that I think he was going to retire previously, but even before this year. But when Cam Rising gets hurt,
Yeah.
that's tough. And he's a competitor. He's not going out like that, right? So he tries to keep going, and quarterbacks keep getting hurt. This year, he thought this was going to be the year. He spoke so highly of his team. I love Devin Dampier at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line was really, really good. It just didn't click
Outstanding.
all the way for them. And so maybe there was a little bit of impatient because it was coach in waiting, right? Maybe there's some impatience there, and so he had to get out. It's like, hey guys, we gave you the extra years or whatever, and you got to go. And it's like a mutual agreement. Okay, I'll retire. And his competitive fire, his competitive juice, I don't think that he was cool with that. I don't think he was cool with that at all. And when this happens, where Michigan loses their head coach, there's literally no one really else, right? Everybody else has a job, and there's going to be a lot of different things you got to do to vet these guys and whatever. And he's sitting there like, I don't have a job, and I'm a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that he's going to get – this is the one thing I think I know. He's going to give his best effort and put his best foot forward because I don't think he likes the way that he ended things at Utah. I think he's going to give everything he's got.
An off speed, Deb. I don't think he knows another way.
Yeah. He's going to give everything, and I think that his ability to conform a bit, because if we remember, Harbaugh conformed some. Did he not? Right? When after that COVID year,
you have to a little bit. You're right.
You have to. There has to be some give in the way that this thing is going. It's a different direction. It's not the old school iron fist hammer and that's it. But also, it's not handshakes on the sideline, right? The good coaches find
don't
that
change who you are, but
of course,
it's a relationship business
because they'll know it's pretend. They'll know it's pretend. So for Harbaugh, I don't think he ever changed who he was, like overhaul personality, all those different things. However, I think he did look in the mirror and say, well, this game is evolving. So
100%.
that means I have to evolve, even though I've had great success. This is a different game we're playing, and I have to evolve with it or get left behind. And he made a great choice, right? Clean house, got new staff, got younger, did all the things that he needed to do to make sure that he put himself in the best position and most importantly, put Michigan in the best position. And my hope is that Kyle Whittingham comes, 66 years old, however old he'll be and however old he'll get while he's in the position as the head coach at Michigan. My hope and my prayer even is for him to say, let me look in the mirror. What things can I improve on? How do I continue to change with the times without losing myself? And I think that Michigan would be fine if that is a conversation and a thing that he will do, which I think he has to. I don't think he has an option.
Yeah. No, and that's where I'm at here too. Is I first off, you consider the context of what Michigan was up against. This is another coaching hire that was happening that's just abnormal. Like it's not like it wasn't
weird.
Saban moving on and then you go get DeBoer if you're Alabama. It was just abnormal. And then even with the context of that, if you just asked, I mean, ESPN runs an article. Where's Whittingham rank? One of the best coaches in college football. Urban Meyer at one point said he was the best coach in college football. Like that is a commonly held opinion that he's one of the best coaches in college football. To Devin's point is now you have to go do it at a new place with new people and new
Out of
relationships, all that.
obscurity.
It's fair. It's fair to
Mhm.
ask. But I would say this is okay, maybe you get him for 3 to 5 years. Whenever that close the chapter of the past, put all that drama, now that can be behind Michigan, and when the next hire comes in 3 to 5 years, you'll have a stable competitive program and be in a much better place. That's what I love. You bring up the young staff that when Jim took Michigan to the new heights, he did change, mainly a younger staff. I love the rumors of who he's talking about bringing in. Jason Beck, his offensive coordinator, the numbers are undeniable, man. You go from a scoring offense outside of the top 100 before Beck to a top 5 scoring offense with Beck. Rushing offense was 98th in college football before Beck. They had the second best rushing offense this past season. And the same was true at New Mexico. Under Beck's leadership, they had the second best rushing offense when he was there. So this is a guy that knows how to scheme rushing offenses, RPO system too, that I think Bryce will thrive in. I do think that's a big piece of this, though, is the staff is going to be ultimately the key. Because Jim was Jim, but when you go hire Mike McDonald, who's now balling with the Seahawks, and Jesse Minter, who's now going to be an NFL head coach, all of a sudden that's the common denominator. When Saban was having all those years, it'd be a coach that would come to him and then go on and be a head coach or an NFL coach next. So what does Whittingham do to bring in to surround himself with talent? Is going to
Yeah,
be the key.
there are a lot of positives. And you talked a lot about, and this was before Sharon had all this going on. You talked a lot about his Rolodex or lack thereof, just not being in the business long enough or having the relationships to make a call and say, "Hey, I need to get in contact with this guy to do this and get this coach." You know what I mean? He just didn't have
It
that.
wasn't.
You made that very clear throughout the season, and Kyle Whittingham does, right? He does, and so I don't think that there's an option for him to not put the best staff together that is possible because he knows a lot of it. 20 years is a long time, man. And he had a lot of success. I don't think there's any way that the staff, that he doesn't follow that kind of blueprint because Jim already did it. He showed you exactly what it
Yeah.
is. Hey, I did well to started to fall off a little bit. COVID hit. It hurt everybody in different ways. We were not very good. They wanted me gone. Whoever they is, I'm not gonna speculate who they were. They wanted me gone, whoever they were. And I said, you know what? Give my salary to all the employees who lost their job. And guess what? I'm gonna bet on myself. First I'm gonna look in the mirror and then I'm gonna bet on myself. And guess what? You guys are gonna owe me. I'm just telling you. And he was he not a prophet in
He
that
did.
way? Was he not a
Yeah.
prophet in that way? And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's a clear blueprint for how you should attack the situation. You like that?
Did you call a Utah game this year? Because you
You
do
know what's
a lot
crazy?
with the Big 12.
I've done so much Big 12. I've never had a Utah game. And
That's
every day I
crazy.
thank my lucky stars. You want to know why? I mean, right now I wish I had more Utah games just so I would. I mean, I know enough because they cross over the film and all that, but I thank my lucky stars every day. And you want to know why? Because
Why?
those names are ridiculous.
That's right.
It's cool to have a
That's
couple,
right.
but when
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
roster
Yeah.
is Sakapulatele and all, oh my gosh. Every
Yeah, it's a
week,
lot
every
of
week
syllables.
before the draft, you know how we do the draft now. I'm just like, please God, I
Yeah.
know I know I haven't been perfect. I know I haven't been perfect. However, can we please not this time?
Yeah.
Just hold it off one more week, please, please. And then my week 1 game is probably gonna be Utah next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of Jason Beck though? With Utah, like did you or have you kind of because it seems the numbers that I'm looking at here are like simply undeniable,
Yeah.
undeniable of who he is as a coordinator. Do you have any like high level thoughts on what Michigan might be getting or what Bryce could look forward to?
I have no idea. No,
Okay.
I like in the RPO style is something that, like you said, Bryce can excel in. However, and I'm not going to say however, it will be coached properly for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just can all but guarantee that you won't see Bryce Underwood throwing the ball versus light boxes, right? Because once it's done, and even if it's successful, like we talked about all year, it will be nipped in the bud right away. Hey, this worked. That's not the process.
Mhm.
That's not the process. You can't just do whatever you want, right? And I think that's exactly what he needs, because when you allow your quarterback, a young quarterback with a lot of talent, I'm just telling you, man, I don't know, you've been talented before. When you're talented, it comes with a little bit of an arrogance of you can
Mhm.
do anything and you're a superhero. Period.
Mhm.
It is what it is. You can ask any athlete. You feel
And that's good to
invincible.
have
It's good
if you tame it.
within reason. You got to tame
Yeah.
it, right? And
Yeah.
so when you do the wrong thing and you have success, all it does is feed that monster. It feeds it. You become more invincible in your head, right? And the perfect example is we talked about it all during the season is Northwestern of like, yeah, I'm doing the wrong thing, but it's working, and
Yeah.
nobody is correcting it. And I I'm not even saying that as if I don't think anybody was correcting it. I'm saying it as a fact. And I wasn't in the meetings. I didn't talk to the coaches. I don't care. Because if you're doing it through the whole first, second quarter, and your first couple throws out of half, you do the same thing, nobody corrected you. Bryce Underwood is not the kid that says, okay, coach, whatever, I'm going to do what I want anyway. Or he's also not the kid that can't count, right? But he's definitely the talented kid that felt invincible, right? And then that snowball started to roll and we almost lost to Northwestern, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying that to say that is not an option. It won't happen. I just don't see it. I
Yeah.
don't see it being pat on the back over and over again after a bad process because of a good result. That's
Mhm.
just not how you build a winning football team. And I think that will subside from here on out with Whittingham and then moving forward, whoever the next guy would be.
Yeah. I think that's the big value of bringing in a veteran coach, though, because when you're a young coach, you're trying to be friends and not, like we
Mm-hmm.
said, you don't really know where the line
You
is.
don't
But
know
with
who you
Whittingham,
are, really.
you don't. But Whittingham is he the benefit of an older head coach is he knows it so clearly who he is. To your point, it's a challenge of he's not going to change, but it's a benefit of he's not going to change.
Yeah, it's a
Bryce,
double-edged
whoever,
sword.
this is exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
We're not going to budge. I do want to let's step aside for a break, Dev. I want to take the viewers inside the locker room. What are the players thinking, and what does Whittingham need to do here after a quick, brief break? All right, welcome back on the Blueprint. And Dev and I were talking before we came on air here, and I kind of want to go back to let's go inside the locker room and lean on our experience here, because the question is like, hey, did these players commit to the former coach? Did they commit to Jim Harbaugh? Or are they committing to Whittingham? And I wanted to just say from my experience, I committed to Michigan. I love Brady, love Coach Ferrigno, love the staff. But you're committed to Michigan for the Block M, for the history, because you're going to compete at a high level. And nowadays they're committed to Michigan because it's a big check, as big as pretty much anywhere. I think the timing of this hire now, portal opens January 2nd. All systems go to meet with these players and keep that young talent on board. And I would imagine most of the young talent, if not all the young talent, stays for those exact reasons. But I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are on the outlook of what the roster may look like over these next few days and weeks.
Well, so it just depends on the kid, in my opinion. When Brady Hoke came, when Rich Rod was leaving, because remember, Rich Rod was my guy. Rich Rod is still to this day probably my second favorite coach ever. Like, I'm talking about all levels of football, right? Love the way he did things. Love how intense he was. He was a fire breathing dragon, similar to me, and I loved him. And when he left, I never even thought about transferring. And his offense was perfect for me, like literally perfect for me. Little less running, he ran Denard quite a bit. Take some off for me,
Yeah.
coach. But as far as like the clear open windows you get to throw the ball into because of the design of the way he calls offense. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it. But like you said, I committed to Coach Rod, but I committed to Michigan, right? It's just, and I'm not the jump ship guy. I'm just not.
Mhm.
Never been that way. I'm not. I just can't see perfect example. I went to U of D Jesuit in ninth grade. You don't know this school. it's probably the toughest school. If I go there right now, I will struggle to average C's for sure. It's so tough. I'm talking about ninth grade, right? And so I go there because a lot of my friends go there. Ernest Thomas, Deion Sims was already there. You don't know, some of you guys remember these names of these super talented players, and we're like, we're gonna change this whole thing around. And it's gonna be amazing. George Wynn was there, played with the Lions, and I get there, and after I think it might have been after the first game, Deion Sims leaves. Ernest Thomas leaves. All these guys leave, and I'm there by myself. I should probably leave as well. I'm miserable in the school. It's all boys school. The school is super hard. I'm coming from public school. Now I'm in private school. I'm getting in trouble. They call these things jugs, justice under God. I'm getting a bunch of jugs. I set the record some. Not tucked in your shirt. You got the wrong color socks on. All these different things. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I am the quarterback of this school. How am I getting in trouble for not wearing a blazer that I don't own?
Yeah.
Right? However, I should have left, but I stayed because I felt like I can't run away just because other guys left. Even though I came to play with those guys, I just couldn't do it. And then, I went into my sophomore year and it got way worse. I'm like, okay, I probably need to go to a different school, right? Transfer, and then I play well. But at the core of me, I just can't jump ship. First, because everybody else is doing it. And second, just because things aren't shaking out the way I wanted them to initially. Because I think things happen for a reason, and the adversity that you get when a coach leaves or things just aren't as good and pretty as you had imagined them to be, those opportunities are adverse situations that you build that intestinal fortitude that is going to allow you to be who you want to be outside of football, right? And so I thought about that as a young guy, 18, 19 years old, even 16, 17 when I was still in high school. And so I'm just not that guy. Like we talked about in the first segment, it's a different kid. Different kid. Right? And so I can see a receiver, an Andrew Marsh saying, yeah, I'm getting a lot of money, but if we're just going to be a running team, I can get a little less money somewhere else, or maybe the same, I don't know, and go catch balls, right? You know what I mean? And so I just don't know if the Michigan brand is enough for all the guys we want to stay to say, I'm doing this for Michigan, because it's so transactional now. It's so transactional. And so there are still people, a lot of people, who go to Michigan for Michigan and even for the money too. But there are also a lot of people, and I'm not saying Marsh is one of those guys. I'm just using that as an example, right?
Yeah.
A receiver wants to catch passes. That's not a secret, right? So if it's an overwhelmingly running football team, that's not going to make receivers happy. That's just a fact, right? And we've seen that throughout the years of Michigan football. But it's just a different kid now. And so when Brady Hoke came in with Rich Rod, I never even thought about leaving, first of all. And actually, I was like, oh, it's my time to shine, right? This offense is even more perfect for me. And mostly, Denard's not really good at this kind of offense, right? Because he's more of a spread quarterback. They were coming in with pro style. We all know the ending to that story. He still was a starter, and he still is really, really good, right? But I just never thought about leaving. And, there were times where I would sulk and whatever, and I got to give credit where it's due. Denard Robinson is the reason I didn't get too down on myself where I can't function, which we've seen guys, we've had teammates that get so down on themselves, and they're good players, and they can't function because of one thing or another. And without him, there's no way I would have been able to weather that storm of, I'm from Michigan, this is my dream, and I'm watching you live it.
Yeah.
Period. That's what it comes down to. I grew up here. My granddad was a fan of Michigan. My brothers went to the football camps. I went here because I love it, and this is my dream, and you're living it, and you're from Florida, right? And I had to deal with that. And without that, I just don't think I would be the person I am today. So I really can't tell you what these kids are. They're so different. They're so different.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like it depends on the kid because everybody's different. In the kids that want to leave, you don't want to force them to stay. Yep. You want the kids
because now you're beholden to
be there. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Jim first got there, there was no mass exodus of players, and you felt right away. It's like everyone said, no, we're going to stay. To what Devin's saying, on the other side of that adversity is like it's new levels of your ability when you decide to weather the storm.
You can't run around it. The only way is through.
Yeah. And you grow a lot. And for me, I to your point about like whether it's a receiver or not, when Jim got hired, I was on the other side of, oh, I'm a tight end and now I get to play for Jim Harbaugh. This is the best
It's a huge
possible
win.
thing for my career.
Yeah,
But
of
I'm
course.
wondering, what if they hired a coach that doesn't use tight ends? I would have had to leave.
Yeah.
And that's still the reality of it. And that's where, whether it's Jason Beck or whoever, now it's a race against time for Whittingham to start making these hires, to get on the phone with these players. You're up against the clock. January 2nd is when this thing gets rolling. Michigan can write the checks to compete with anyone, but it's more than that, like you're saying. And for Michigan to win, they got to keep these young guys together fully. So,
all right,
yeah,
we got a new coach.
Got a new coach.
And you know what, Jake? I think we forgot. We got a game too. There's a game.
We do have a game. Wait a second. There's a
game.
There's a
Texas.
game.
It's like two of the biggest brands in the history of college football playing a game coming up soon. So I just want to go through a couple things, right?
Go for it.
It doesn't mean as much just because new coordinator going to be on offense for Michigan and a new defensive coordinator for Texas. However, I went through and what's the kid's name for Texas A&M, the quarterback? I can't
Marcel Reed.
Marcel Reed. There you go. Very talented, right? And I look at him as a year ahead Bryce, right?
I like that.
He's got a lot of talent. He's got athletic ability. He can throw it. He sometimes makes mistakes, but he's a year ahead, right? He's a little bit further along than Bryce is, right? And so I just went to look to see how did he fare against Texas and compare that to how he fared against the other SEC teams in the conference, right? So against the SEC, he was 63% completion percentage, right? Which is pretty good. And then against Texas, he was only 62, which is not that big of a difference, right? We can live with that.
Yep.
But this is where it gets a little scary and spooky even. Against the rest of the SEC, he averaged 251.8 yards a game, right? And that's in the air, right? I didn't even do the rushing stuff. That's just in the air. 251.8, which is really good, right? He is driving the ball down the field. Against Texas, only 180 yards. Right? It's a huge drop-off. Huge. And then against the rest of the SEC, he was 1.8, so basically 2 touchdowns per game, right? Whether it be rushing, throwing, whatever the case may be. Against Texas, 0 with 2 interceptions. So for me, it's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But they have a different defensive coordinator, but they won't have all their weapons, right? They won't have all the players that
they got a lot of
season.
opt-outs.
Of course. Yep. And so, but that's the alarming thing. And I think this is a great opportunity, like we've talked about, for Bryce to go out there and show all the work he's been putting in. Is he going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But we need to see a step forward from Oklahoma, period.
Yeah.
Because against Ohio State, we did not see a step forward from Oklahoma. Forget all the rest, right? From Oklahoma to Ohio State, we didn't see nearly enough progress. And to be quite honest, it looked like regression, right? We want to see a step forward from Oklahoma, whether it's a big step or a small step. Right, and you're going up against the defense because as much as they got opt-outs, this is Texas we're talking about.
Yeah,
there are good backups that have been waiting their turn, and now they get that opportunity, and they're basically auditioning to make sure they don't bring in guys to replace them. So they're going to give everything they got, and they're going to get up for the greatest recruit in the history of recruiting. They're going to get up for it, period. Right? They got Arch Manning. We got Bryce Underwood. This is going to be a very fun showdown. And like I said, the only hope for me, honestly, and obviously you want to win, but the main hope, winning is secondary for me because this game doesn't matter at all. That's why we just talked about all the other stuff. It doesn't matter, except for Bryce Underwood. I really want to see clear progress from OU to right now.
I'm with a win. Really is to see Bryce 3-step hitch, ball out accurate. 5-step hitch, ball out accurate. Read 1, read 2, tuck it and run.
Right, top to bottom run. Like all the things.
That's a win. Now you want to win, but
you want to win.
That is a win. That's the win.
Yeah.
So that's great stuff. I mean, we'll be following it too, and we'll try to keep everybody updated on who's playing, who isn't, what change. I mean, we know 24 hours, everything can change in this cycle. But I like that's a great point. Texas will be up for the game. Arch is playing. So
Arch is playing.
I mean,
and Arch is sick of it. I'm just telling you. I've talked. You know Archie, big Archie's not my friend. He's too old to be my friend.
Archie hates this, huh?
But he's my guy. Like he's been like when I tell you, Archie texts me back so fast. He texts me back faster than anybody I text, right? And so he cannot wait for his opportunity for his grandson. Like I haven't talked to him about that specifically. I've talked to him just about the whole situation. I can't imagine he's not chopping at the bit. And I know for a fact Arch Manning cannot. He is unhappy, to say the least, about how he has been portrayed, how he's essentially been attacked right now. Did he play well? Absolutely not. But he also didn't rank himself the best quarterback in college football without ever having a full season to play. He didn't, right? That's a fact, right? And so he's got a little chip on his shoulder. Somehow he's a Manning with a chip on his shoulder. I think that's scary.
It's a good
Our
recipe.
defense will get a chance to get after him, just like Texas will get a chance to get after Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, Derek Moore, Barham, both opting out. So it's who knows. But like you said, Michigan, we have our coach. Next step is fill out the staff, see where they're at, and we're all going to be watching to see how Bryce plays in this game. But shoot, man, that's the big step. That's the big domino. Got the coach. It's Kyle Whittingham. Great stuff, Deb, breaking it all down. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. And, we'll keep you covered here. It's the Blueprint. We'll keep you covered as news continues to break. So hope you guys had a great holiday. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you sometime around the new year.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.